Good morning. Abstinence. Experience strength and hope with members of Overeaters Anonymous and Wink. Amos Wink. She's doing her morning thing with us. So this is entitled, let me get the camera right. Sorry, guys. Promising Steps. Shortly after coming to OA, almost 3 years ago, I began to notice a change in my attitudes towards social gatherings, particularly parties. I found myself feeling increasingly uncomfortable at these events and frequently wished that I had stayed at home. Dinner parties, birthday parties, holiday parties. I began to avoid them whenever possible. Unfortunately, this became a problem at home since my wife loves parties and we are frequently invited to them. Instead of examining my feelings, I justified my stance by rationalizing that refusing to attend parties was taking care of myself. After all, I thought, parties are just food and alcohol feasts that have no place in my daily eating plan. I was partially correct. When I first gained my abstinence, parties were slippery places for me because of the unlimited food and drink. But as time went on and my recovery progressed, I realized that what made me feel uncomfortable at parties was my uneasiness with myself and other guests, not the food. In the days before I came to OA, I ate and drank my way through those parties, thus avoiding having to confront my feelings. Anger, low self-esteem, and fear of people were the underlying causes of my overeating at parties. I often felt less than the others, believing I had nothing interesting or important to say. I was also uncomfortable about my 315-pound body, so I preferred not to talk to people, convinced they would judge me by my size. These feelings also precipitated my anger, and I actually found myself resenting people who could enjoy themselves. When I reached a normal weight and remained abstinent, these feelings that had been buried began to resurface. No wonder I didn't like parties. They brought to light some of my most serious defects of character. It was clear that there was work to be done, and the program provided the answer. I asked higher power for help with this problem and resolved to go to the next party with an open mind, willing to confront my discomfort. The first party I attended was tough, though, as my wife was unable to go and I'd always depended on her to keep me company. When I walked in the door, I realized I didn't know anybody, and all eyes were on me. I was fearful, but I remembered to trust my plan. After the host introduced me to others and uh, around the room, I told a few jokes and began to feel more at ease than usual. I saw the spread of food and alcohol, but thought, it's not for me, and chose a diet drink instead. I began getting to know the other guests, moving from person to person. Eventually, some people I knew arrived, and I felt even more comfortable. But I realized that it really didn't matter, as my higher power and I were doing just fine on our own. One of the promises of the steps was at work. I found myself intuitively knowing how to handle situations that used to baffle me. I felt comfortable instead of afraid. Later on, we played a party game, which I'd always hated, and I won. I really had a good time. For the other guests, it was probably just another party, but for me, it was a breakthrough. I continued to share my feelings about parties at meetings and with my sponsor because they are a symbol of many other problems I have in my life. My uncomfortable feelings haven't totally disappeared, but they are definitely getting less intense. I don't go to every party that comes along, but I go to many more than before, and I enjoy most of them. My wife has certainly noticed the difference too. Looking to the program for a solution was the key to growth in this regard, and it served to strengthen my abstinence and my belief in OA and the 12-step way of life. This comes from a member in Washington, D.C. Yeah, I identify um, in my drinking and binging days. I was definitely the life of the party. Um, Always managed to gain the center of attention. Was very boisterous and gregarious. You know, the social butterfly. Loved parties, loved bars, loved events, and but many times I'm flashing to, going from party to party to party or bar to bar to bar, that full night of, just 110 miles an hour of insanity, and finally reaching the end of the night where it must end, and then crashing emotionally, and then being overwhelmed with all the fear that I had not even acknowledged, and the loneliness, getting home at 4 or 5 in the morning, or as the sun comes up, and just sitting in a chair in the silence and weeping, and being really confused about how amazing of a time and how much fun I had had, only to end up, in a puddle of tears. It was very confusing, to say the least. And in sobriety, in abstinence, I mean, I haven't really been to a party. Well, I don't know if I've been to a big event that was a food event. I mean, the last event I went to, um, it was mostly a learning event, but there was food served there. But I ate beforehand, and I had a drink, much like the person here, and I didn't dwell on. And there was definitely a binge food made available to the room, um, but I had eaten before, and I didn't dwell on it. So success. So I'm looking for more of that, more of the ability to be on a food plan when a function comes along, and walk through that function in abstinence. What a concept. What a gift. So just looking forward to continue to strengthen my recovery and my sobriety and my abstinence. Yeah, working the tools, baby. Have a great day. Take care.